Right now on the National Weather Desk, Florida deluge. Record rain falls on the state as the season's first tropical disturbance looms off the coast.
Our center of circulation is here. It's going to move across the state. It's bringing us really heavy rainfall.
After the storm, South Carolinians clean up after powerful winds damaged their community.
What we saw last night was a supercell thunderstorm.
Why are bear sightings up? The reason in one New England state.
We're now getting into the mating season.
What one Texas city is doing to help people from overheating.
Heat-related illnesses are occurring in our community.
And we'll explain what causes those refreshing sea breezes at the beach.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. The first tropical disturbance of the 2024 hurricane season has formed off the coast of Florida. Right now, it's bringing heavy rain to the Sunshine State. Now, this right here is Sarasota on the western coast. In just 1 hour last night, the city saw nearly 4 inches of rain. That breaks the all-time record. In fact, the city received more than 6.5 inches, equal to a month's worth of rain. And the rain is not letting up just yet. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski looks at what's next for this tropical disturbance.
This little X is where the center of circulation is with this trough of low pressure. So lots of disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity here. So anytime you see these maps, the area that has the circle, that's where the development is possible. So right now, our center of circulation is here. It's going to move across the state. It's bringing us really heavy rainfall. And then somewhere out over the western Atlantic, again, off the coast of the Carolinas, this is going to try to develop into maybe something. It's got a really low development chance, 10 to 20% through the next 2 to 7 days. We'll watch this closely, but this isn't going to threaten us in terms of any kind of tropical system coming this way. It's not going to turn into a hurricane on top of us.
And heavy rain also moved through Abilene, Texas yesterday, causing issues for drivers. The rain flooded streets and also underpasses. Several cars stalled out due to high water. It can take as little as 6 inches of water to move a car. So if you can't see the road, remember, turn around. Don't drown. The threat of severe weather today moves to the northern plains. Northern Minnesota could see a couple of tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds up to 65 miles per hour. The rest of the state, however, along with portions of Iowa, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas, also face the chance of severe storms. Severe weather tore through portions of South Carolina Monday night. You can see it here. The damage was so significant. Many thought a tornado had actually touched down, but as meteorologist Cheriston Clark explains, it was actually a downburst thunderstorm.
We had an environment that was very favorable for thunderstorms, more so than normal for this time of year. And then we did have those storms that initially developed down to our south and continued to progress up through here. What we saw last night was a supercell thunderstorm, a very long-lived supercell thunderstorm. Again, for this time of year, it's getting to be pretty unusual. That's usually something, if we're going to see it, it's usually going to be more in the spring.
Some of the hardest hit areas include Somerville, Ladson, and Goose Creek. Charleston's National Weather Service office spent the day surveying damage using drones and other tools.
Most of the damage that we've seen has been indicative of straight-line winds, which can be just as strong of winds as a weaker tornado. So far we've seen mostly straight-line winds, and that is represented by a lot of the damage, the trees that fall, all falling in the same direction. Tornadoes have a different wind signature where we can sometimes see the damage falling in different directions or even a convergent wind signature.
Andrew Kirkland and his Save a Tree team have been working all across the area all day. Kirkland has lived here his whole life and has been a tree climber for a decade. He has said he has never seen damage like this.
As far as in the Charleston area, yeah, this is the worst I've seen in my lifetime. You know, I can't even believe it was this wild.
But the community has come together in a time of hardship.
People have come out and offered Gatorades and water, lots of thank yous. So, I mean, it's bittersweet, but yeah, it does. It brings the whole community together. I feel like everybody is reaching out and lending a hand, so that's a good thing.
And temperatures are still sweltering. Parts of the West, California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah remain under heat advisories or excessive heat warnings. But as meteorologist Bill Race explains, the heat risk is on its way to the southeast and Midwest.
Here's Thursday. We're starting to see the colors changing from just a small risk to minor risk and also moderate risk. And those colors just continue to change into moderate risk levels on Friday, Saturday, and if you look down in Georgia, Mississippi, even into the major heat risk. And again, as we head into Sunday, even a larger area of that major heat risk. So this is something that you'll definitely want to take precaution of as we get into that time frame.
San Antonio, Texas is also sizzling these days, so the city is working to ensure residents stay safe when they head outdoors. Marissa Mendoza has more about this heat-related illness dashboard.
This dashboard monitors heat-related illnesses associated with exposure to high temperatures during the heat season from March to October in Bexar County. It's updated every Wednesday. The dashboard at this time shows that 73% of men in the 25 to 44-year-old age range are most vulnerable to the heat.
This way, it can allow the community members, employers to see that these heat-related illnesses are occurring in our community and see who is being impacted and hopefully help them make sure they're implementing as many measures as they can, either with their employees or students or volunteers, whoever they might have who's being exposed to the heat outdoors right now with our elevated temperatures.
Firefighters are some of the most vulnerable workers to be susceptible to heat-related illnesses. In hot weather like this, the city tries to double up or expand crews so firefighters are able to get the necessary recovery and hydration they need to stay safe.
And gardeners out there may be concerned about how your plants will handle those high temperatures. Well, folks at our Redding, California station spoke to an expert about the best ways to keep your plants safe and happy, even during the extreme heat.
You want to cover crop and you want to mulch. So we have this rice straw right here. The thicker your mulch, the more water stays into the soil and the more plants you have. Also, a lot of people think they need a lot of space between their plants. That's not really true. They'll learn to move around each other and deal. And you can also do companion planting, which helps the plants be friends and give each other benefits.
Well, the gardener and another resident created and maintain a large and free community garden in Paradise, a town that was almost wiped out during the 2018 Camp Fire. Spotting deer and turkey in Rhode Island is pretty common. Seeing a bear wandering through your community is less so. There have been many bear sightings over the past few weeks, and while people may not see them that often, the State Department of Environmental Management says it's pretty normal. Allegra Zamore explains.
I've never seen a bear. I've lived here my entire life. I've never seen a bear.
Several people across Rhode Island are seeing black bears making their way through their streets and yards.
She sent me a text of a picture of a bear that was walking through the yard.
Another black bear was spotted in South Kingstown, and the Hopkinton Police Department posted this video of a bear walking along the side of the road.
Spring, summer, fall is when bears are active during the year. And we're now getting into the mating season. Mating is June and July. And getting into the mating season now, there's going to be a lot more movement, particularly of males.
Rhode Island DEM says seeing these bears is not a reason to be concerned. DEM says they are naturally shy animals that are drawn to food like birdseed that might be nearby.
Your garbage, your compost pile, fruiting trees, all that kind of stuff. If you feed cats outside, bears love cat food. Those types of things will bring bears.
While it may be tempting to snap a picture of the bear, DEM recommends doing so from inside. If you spot one in your neighborhood, it's a good idea to take any pets inside as well until the bear has left the area.
A helicopter ride gave us a unique view of the volcano that recently erupted in Iceland. A viewer sent us these images to meteorologist James Spann, who posted them on Instagram. Not only can you see the crater right there, but you can also see the smoke billowing into the sky. There's now considerable smog and also air pollution in many places. The nearby and very popular Blue Lagoon was closed after lava covered the access road, but it has since reopened thanks to an alternate route around that volcano. And looking for the most up-to-date weather content, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, No Mow May. The ideal of not mowing your yard in May to help protect pollinators has grown in popularity, but we'll show you why one town wants to end that practice. And we'll help you better understand how clouds get their shape.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A strong thunderstorm this week brought twin lightning bolts at Murrells Inlet Sunday night. The microburst also brought plenty of damaged trees and debris. This looks like a tornado off the coast of Myrtle Beach, but it's an intense rain shaft. And bad news for this black bear stuck in the outfield temporarily. Talk about swinging for the fences, but it eventually found its way.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
No Mow May. The idea of not mowing your yard in May to help protect pollinators has grown in popularity, but in Wisconsin, the practice is starting to cause some controversy. Brady Meyer has more.
No Mow May just completed its 5th year in Appleton.
Things like bees and pollinators go a long way in providing food and important resources for us, and we want to keep them around for a long time.
But there's a chance this year could be the last.
It was mainly driven by citizen input and just a general observation of how our city looks during the month of May.
Alderperson Chris Croat recently authored a resolution which would repeal No Mow May starting next year.
HOAs are groups of folks that really dislike the idea of having a long lawn for a period of time here in the early season, and it's not unusual, so I'm not terribly surprised.
No Mow May became a city ordinance in 2022 based off a study from then alderperson and ecologist Israel Del Toro.
I think what we've seen over the last few years is that there's a lot of community rallying and support and growth throughout the U.S. of this initiative.
I just thought, based on the action of other municipalities that have removed it or rescinded it or changed it since then, is what drove me to bring forward the resolution for Appleton.
A document from the city shows since the adoption of No Mow May, weed complaints have risen in June, July, and August.
You can see that there's clearly an impact on the inspections department.
Del Toro says that doesn't tell the full story.
What's more important than not mowing your lawn is this awareness, this public awareness and messaging of, hey, what can we do to protect those little things that can't protect themselves?
When it's hot at the beach, a cooling wind is a welcome thing. Meteorologist Chris Suchan explains how a sea breeze works.
Well, it's that time of the year where if you live near the Gulf or the Atlantic, you start thinking about the sea breeze paying you a visit in the afternoon hours. Here's how it works. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan with a breakdown on the sea breeze. Land during the day when the sun comes up heats faster than water. This creates an area of low pressure where the air is rising as it heats. And that also could create a little bit of cloudiness along the sea breeze. This forces air to move in from the water to replace that air that's rising, or air moves from high pressure to low pressure. You see that paddle wheel effect. And of course, this does bring cooling as the sea breeze then moves inland. Once you're behind it, always that chance to get a shower or thunderstorm along it as well. Do want to point out that when the sun sets, we get the reverse. It's called the land breeze, and everything reverses where the air is flowing back out over the water as it rises, because land will cool faster at night than the water. But that's how the sea breeze works. And again, if you're lucky enough to see it in a hot summer day, you're guaranteed to get a little bit of relief behind it.
The Gulf of Mexico can have a major impact on the weather in the southeast. Alabama meteorologist Evan Chikvera shows us how.
Today we're talking about the Gulf of Mexico, and not just the body of water, but the influence it has over the southeast. Tropical moisture coming off the Gulf supplies an incredible amount of energy to the southeast, has a big impact on our weather, especially in the summertime. You've got that influence, those southerly winds that move in, you have the development of clouds and ultimately some thunderstorms. But it can be very, very difficult to predict. On one hand, you've got that latent tropical energy release as these storms come on shore, but also where these storms form will cause areas sometimes to the north to be left completely untouched. We had a scenario like this a couple weeks ago where a boundary sagged right into central Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. Areas to the south were able to take full advantage of that warm tropical moisture while we stayed relatively dry to the north. That gave us a gradient of about 2 inches of rain in places like Montgomery, like Jackson, Mississippi, but left us bone dry if you were to the north of that I-20 corridor. So a very interesting influence, the Gulf of Mexico, always keeping our forecast interesting this time of year. Again, a huge driver in our daily temperature influx, as well as daily rain chances.
Well, have you ever heard your local meteorologist mention a through of low pressure? Do you know what it means or how pressure can impact the weather? Let's take a look at a recent TikTok post from meteorologist Josh Kowalski to learn more.
Ever hear in our forecast, trough of low pressure, cold air aloft, convective downpours, convective clouds? Well, take a look at this. This is what it actually looks like on the satellite picture, the bubbling up of the clouds here on this image. And the same thing goes on radar. We have downpours, kind of almost looks like little mini cells and clusters. That's that cold air up high and the ground being heated up by the sun to the first half of the day. And it's just like bubbles on a pot of water on the stove. Boiling the water, you have a kind of rising motion with the bubbles from hot air down below to not as warm air aloft. It's a great way to model what's actually happening in the atmosphere. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
We talk a lot about different cloud types, but today we want to show you how clouds get their shape and their color. To do that, let's take a look at a recent TikTok post from meteorologist Kirsten Clark.
So what gives clouds their shape? Three things: air temperature, density, and air movement. That air movement is going to pull those clouds into different directions, shaping them into those cool, fun formations. Sometimes you'll notice that clouds can be, those bright, vibrant colors, right? But today we're going to focus on what makes them white or what makes them gray. I would also like to add that there is more science behind this, but I'm just kind of giving you the simple, basic explanation for right now. So what makes a cloud white? Well, so you've got your sun right here, right? But then you've also got your cloud, and that cloud is going to be filled with tightly packed water droplets. So what's happening, those water droplets will be absorbing that bright white sunlight, and that will give you that white color. And then gray clouds, well, you start taking away some of those droplets because they're starting to form raindrops, right? Well, so what's happening is there's going to be more space and less sunlight to be absorbed, giving you that gray color.
A huge dust storm called a haboob swept across the El Paso area last week. Meteorologist Brad Montgomery explains what caused it.
A look at the haboob, or dust storm, that pushed in last Friday. Now take a look at this cool time lapse. Camera facing off to the west as we go through the afternoon hours. Clouds are building up, but as is often the case in June, not enough moisture down here for the rain to reach the ground. So the storms and showers develop, the rain evaporates, creating very, very gusty winds. And I want you to watch over toward the left side of your screen. You're going to see this rush of wind and dust just push out. That is the haboob, or the dust storm, that blew across the borderland Friday.
And now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. We begin in Syracuse, New York, where skies are cloudy. Things will stay cloudy all day with highs in the low 70s. And a look here at Oklahoma City, where there is an abundance of sunshine, highs in the 90s. Heading up to Appleton, Wisconsin, where it's partly cloudy this morning with more clouds moving in this afternoon. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible, highs in the mid 80s. And we head west to Caldwell, Idaho, where it's going to be a beautiful day. Nothing but sunshine and highs in the mid 80s. And before we take a short break, let's take to the skies over Nebraska's Buffalo Hills Elk Ranch. Recently, meteorologist Shannon Ray spotted a puffball mushroom outside of her station in Missouri. Let's check in on a Facebook post she made discussing what makes these wild mushrooms simply so unique.
Mosaic puffball mushroom is what I found out it is called, and this thing is like 5.5 inches wide, and it also, they can be quite tall. This one wasn't too tall, but you can see the stem here, and here's the top of the mushroom. Have you seen one of these in your yard? Because they get pretty big, and let me show you some of the facts about these. When they first start off, they tend to be very white and covered in hair, but as they grow and mature, they become a browner color, and they also develop this mosaic pattern of these polygonal shapes, these scaly shapes on the outside. That's why it's called the mosaic puffball mushroom. It can be quite big. These can be up to 10 inches in diameter, and they can also stand as high as 10 inches tall. This one, as I mentioned, I measured 5.5 inches. So kind of fun to see a couple of these.
Looking for more great weather content? Be sure to check us out on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back.